Have you ever wondered what truly lies hidden beneath the ancient stones of Rome? For centuries, this incredible civilization has captured our imaginations. It was a world of mighty legions, grand emperors, and truly spectacular buildings. But beyond the famous stories, Rome holds so many secrets. Mysteries whisper from every ruin, every dusty artifact. What forgotten tales are still waiting to be uncovered? It's a thrilling thought, isn't it? The Romans were masters of so many things, but perhaps their greatest skill was leaving us utterly fascinated even now, so many years later. We think we know Rome, but do we really? The sheer scale of Roman achievement continues to astound us. Imagine a city that was once the capital of a vast empire. An empire stretching from the cold lands of Britain to the hot deserts of Egypt. Its influence touched millions of lives. They built roads that still exist today, aqueducts that carried water for miles, and monuments that defy time. How did they achieve so much? What drove their ambition? These are questions that historians, archaeologists, and curious minds like ours still ponder. It's like a giant, captivating puzzle, and we only have some of the pieces. The full picture is still emerging, bit by bit. But it's not just the grand scale that fascinates. It's the hidden details, the strange occurrences, the lost knowledge. Think of coded messages that we still struggle to decipher. Imagine rituals conducted in secret, deep within temple walls, their true meanings lost to time. There are tales of incredible wealth, vanished without a trace. These aren't just stories from dusty old books. They are clues to a world far more complex and mysterious than we often assume. Every discovery, big or small, peels back another layer of this ancient enigma. It's a historical detective story on a grand scale. The Romans were people, just like us in many ways. They loved, they fought, they dreamed, they feared, but their world was so different, filled with customs and beliefs that can seem utterly alien to us now. Exploring their secrets is like opening a window into a lost part of human experience. What drove their superstitions? How did they see the world, the gods, the afterlife? The answers are often tantalizingly out of reach, making the quest to understand them even more exciting. Rome continues to challenge us, to surprise us, and to invite us to dig deeper. Oh, the stories of Roman treasure. They're enough to make anyone dream of adventure. Imagine chests overflowing with gold coins, gleaming jewels, and priceless artifacts. Many such treasures were lost as the empire faced troubled times. Armies clashed, cities were sacked, and fortunes vanished. Some were deliberately hidden, buried by wealthy Romans hoping to retrieve them when peace returned. But for many, that day never came. Their secrets and their riches were sealed beneath the earth. Where could they be now? It's a question that has fueled treasure hunts for centuries. Consider the legendary lost treasure of Alaric the Goth. In 410 AD, his army sacked Rome itself. Can you imagine the scene? Priceless objects, gold and silver, were carted away. Legend says Alaric was buried with an immense hoard. The river Busenta was diverted, his tomb built in the riverbed, and then the waters returned to hide it forever. Those who knew the location were supposedly killed to protect the secret. Is it just a story? Or is a king's ransom still waiting at the bottom of an Italian river? Many have searched, but the river holds its secrets close. It's not just Alaric's hoard. There are countless tales of smaller personal fortunes lost to time. Perhaps a wealthy merchant buried his savings before fleeing a barbarian raid. Maybe a temple's sacred treasures were hidden from defilers, their location known only to a few priests. Some discoveries are made by accident. A farmer ploughing his field might unearth a pot filled with silver coins. A construction project might reveal the foundations of a villa with its mosaics and, if lucky, its strongbox still intact. Each find reignites the thrill of what else might be out there. The allure of Roman gold is powerful. It's not just about monetary value. These objects connect us directly to the past. Holding a Roman coin is like shaking hands with someone who lived 2,000 years ago. It's a tangible piece of history. Museums are filled with stunning examples, but we know they represent only a fraction of what once existed. The earth still holds so much. The search for lost Roman treasures is a search for lost stories, for the echoes of lives lived long ago, and the glitter of an empire that still dazzles. The Romans had a very public relationship with their gods. Grand temples stood in the heart of their cities. Festivals filled the streets with processions and sacrifices. But behind closed doors and in hidden groves, other rituals took place. These were the mystery cults, and their practices were often shrouded in secrecy. Imagine initiates blindfolded, led through dark passages, their senses heightened. What did they see? What did they hear? What promises of salvation or secret knowledge were offered to them? It's all terribly intriguing, isn't it? One of the most famous mystery cults was dedicated to Mithras. This god, often depicted slaying a bull, was popular with soldiers. His temples, called Mithraea, were built underground. They were designed to look like caves. Think of the atmosphere. Dimly lit, smoky from incense, with strange symbols covering the walls. Initiates went through 7 grades of membership, each with its own trials and secrets. Scholars still debate the exact nature of their rituals. What did that bull-slaying scene truly represent? The secrecy was so effective that many details are lost to us, making it even more fascinating. Then there were the Vestal Virgins. These priestesses were incredibly important in Rome. They guarded the sacred flame of Vesta, the goddess of the hearth. If the flame went out, it was a terrible omen for the city. The Vestals lived in a grand house, but their lives were bound by strict rules. They took a vow of chastity for 30 years. If that vow was broken, the punishment was terrifying. The unchaste Vestal was buried alive. Can you picture the solemn, dreadful procession? Such harshness tells us how seriously the Romans took their religious duties and their deepest fears. Beyond the official cults and the well-known mysteries, there were countless local deities. Every spring, every forest, every crossroads might have its own spirit or minor god. People left offerings, whispered prayers, and followed ancient traditions passed down through generations. Many of these practices were never written down. They existed in the folk memory of the people. Archaeologists sometimes find strange collections of objects, bent nails, cursed tablets, small animal bones. These hint at a world of magic, superstition, and personal devotion that official histories barely touch upon. It's a hidden layer of Roman spiritual life, full of whispers and shadows. When we think of Rome, we picture majestic columns reaching for the sky. But there's a whole other Rome, hidden beneath our feet. A vast network of tunnels, chambers, and secret passages lies under the modern city. These are not just sewers and cellars. Some are ancient quarries, their stone used to build the wonders above. Others are catacombs, the burial places of early Christians and Jews. Imagine miles and miles of narrow, dark corridors lined with tombs. It's a silent city of the dead, holding countless stories. The catacombs are perhaps the most famous part of underground Rome. During times of persecution, Christians sometimes met here in secret to worship. They decorated the walls with early Christian symbols, the fish, the anchor, the Good Shepherd. These simple paintings offer a glimpse into their faith and their hopes. Walking through these tunnels today is an incredibly moving experience. You can almost feel the presence of those who sought refuge and laid their loved ones to rest in these cool, quiet depths. What whispers of prayer and song still echo in these ancient passageways? But it's not just catacombs. Under many Roman houses, or insulae, the apartment blocks where ordinary Romans lived, there were often extensive basements and underground rooms. Some might have been used for storage or as workshops. Others could have had more mysterious purposes. Were there hidden shrines, secret meeting places for forbidden groups, escape tunnels? The possibilities are tantalizing. As modern Rome builds and excavates, new parts of this subterranean world are constantly being discovered, each one adding a new piece to the puzzle of ancient life. Think, too, of the engineering marvels that required underground work. The Cloaca Maxima, Rome's great sewer, was an enormous underground channel, parts of which are still in use. Aqueducts sometimes ran underground for miles before emerging to cross valleys on those famous arches. Building and maintaining these systems required incredible skill. Imagine the workers toiling in the dark by lamplight. This hidden infrastructure was essential to the functioning of the great city above. Rome's foundations are as fascinating as its famous skyline, a testament to its builders' ingenuity and hard work. The Roman emperors, Their names echo through history. Augustus, Nero, Caligula, Hadrian. They held immense power, often seen as living gods. But what was it really like to be the most powerful man in the known world? It must have been a heady mix of absolute authority and constant danger. Emperors could order magnificent buildings, command vast armies, and change the lives of millions with a single decree. Yet, they were also surrounded by plots, rivals, and the ever-present threat of assassination. It was a life lived on a knife edge. Some emperors were known for their wisdom and benevolence. Augustus brought peace and prosperity after years of civil war. Trajan expanded the empire to its greatest extent and was known for his public works. But others? Well, others were infamous for their cruelty and eccentricity. Caligula supposedly tried to make his horse a consul. Nero is remembered for fiddling while Rome burned, though that's probably more legend than fact. These stories, whether entirely true or not, paint a picture of rulers who were larger than life, their whims shaping the fate of an empire. The daily life of an emperor was a strange mix of public spectacle and private intrigue. They were constantly on display, performing rituals, meeting dignitaries, and addressing the people. But behind the scenes, the imperial palace was a hive of whispers, ambition, and fear. Courtiers vied for favor, spies listened in the shadows, and family members often posed the greatest threat. Imagine the paranoia. Trust must have been a rare commodity. This intense pressure surely contributed to some of the more bizarre behavior we read about. It's a fascinating psychological study. And what of the empresses and imperial women? They often wielded considerable influence, sometimes openly, sometimes from behind the throne. Livia, the wife of Augustus, was a masterful political player. Agrippina the Younger, Nero's mother, was ruthlessly ambitious. Their stories are just as compelling as those of the emperors themselves. They navigated a dangerous world, using intelligence, charm, and sometimes poison to achieve their goals. The imperial court was a stage for high drama, where power corrupted and secrets could be deadly. The full truth of their lives remains partly hidden, inviting us to uncover more. The Romans weren't just brilliant soldiers and builders, they were incredible inventors too. Their ingenuity shaped the ancient world and left a legacy that still amazes us. Think of Roman concrete. This stuff was revolutionary. It was strong, durable, and could even set underwater. This allowed them to build massive structures like the Pantheon, with its breathtaking dome and sturdy harbours that withstood the crashing waves. How did they perfect this recipe? Some of the secrets of their concrete are still being studied by scientists today. It's quite something, isn't it? Then there are the aqueducts. These magnificent channels carried fresh water to Roman cities, sometimes over distances of more than 50 miles. They were built with such precision and almost imperceptible slope, ensuring the water flowed constantly. Can you imagine the surveying skills required? And the sheer manpower to build those towering arches across valleys? This wasn't just about providing drinking water, it was about public health, hygiene, and supplying the grand public baths that were central to Roman life. These were feats of engineering that transformed urban living. Let's not forget the hypercourse system. This was a clever form of central heating. Hot air from a furnace was circulated under the floors and through cavities in the walls of villas and bathhouses. Imagine stepping onto a warm floor on a chilly morning. It was a luxury, certainly, but it shows a sophisticated understanding of heat transfer and airflow. The Romans also developed sophisticated cranes for lifting heavy stones, advanced surgical instruments, and even a type of odometer to measure distances travelled by carts. Their practical genius was truly remarkable. But were there Roman inventions that were lost to time? Perhaps some brilliant ideas were never widely adopted or were forgotten during the turbulent centuries that followed the empire's decline. There are hints of strange devices in ancient texts, like the Antikythera mechanism, an incredibly complex astronomical calculator. Though Greek, it shows the level of ancient technology. Did the Romans have similar marvels we don't know about? It's exciting to think that forgotten blueprints or undiscovered artifacts might one day reveal even more about their incredible inventiveness. The Roman mind was clearly a powerhouse of innovation. The Colosseum. Just the name conjures up incredible images, doesn't it? Thousands of roaring spectators, the clash of steel, the drama of life and death. This was the heart of Roman entertainment, but it was also a place of brutal reality. Gladiatorial combat was a spectacle unlike any other. Men, and sometimes women, fought to the death, or until the crowd and the emperor decided their fate. But who were these gladiators? What were their lives really like, beyond the blood and sand of the arena? There are so many untold stories. Gladiators were often slaves, prisoners of war, or condemned criminals. However, some were free men who chose this dangerous profession, perhaps seeking fame, fortune, or a way out of debt. They lived and trained in special schools called ludi. Imagine the harsh discipline, the constant fear, but also the camaraderie that must have developed among these fighters. They had different fighting styles and weapons. The retiarius with his net and trident, the murmillo with his large helmet and shield. Each match was a carefully staged performance as well as a deadly contest. Beyond the gladiators, the arenas hosted other spectacles. Wild animal hunts called venationes were hugely popular. Exotic beasts from all corners of the empire, lions, tigers, elephants, crocodiles, were brought to Rome to be hunted and killed. Sometimes condemned criminals were thrown to these hungry animals. It's a gruesome thought, but it tells us a lot about Roman attitudes towards power, nature, and punishment. The logistics of capturing, transporting, and managing these animals must have been a huge undertaking in itself, a hidden industry behind the spectacle. But even in the arena, there were moments that hint at a deeper human story. Graffiti found in gladiatorial barracks reveals their names, their victories, even their anxieties. Epitaphs on their tombstones sometimes speak of bravery or mourn a fallen comrade. There are stories of gladiators who earned their freedom or who became celebrities. And what about the crowds? What did they truly feel as they watched these events? Was it pure bloodlust or something more complex? The Colosseum and arenas like it still echo with unanswered questions, their stones saturated with history and mystery. What was it really like to live a day in ancient Rome? It's easy to focus on the emperors and gladiators, but what about ordinary people? Their lives were filled with routines, customs and beliefs that can seem quite strange to us now. Imagine waking up in a bustling, noisy city. Most Romans lived in the crowded apartment blocks called insulae. These could be poorly built and prone to fire or collapse. Sanitation was a major issue too. Despite the grand aqueducts, life for the average Roman could be smelly and challenging. Roman food might surprise you. Garum, a fermented fish sauce, was a staple condiment. They loved strong flavors. Wealthy Romans enjoyed elaborate banquets, reclining on couches and eating exotic dishes. But for many the diet was simpler. Bread, olives, vegetables and a little wine. Public bakeries and fast food stalls called thermopolia were common. Can you picture grabbing a quick snack on your way to the forum or the baths? Daily life had its rhythms, its familiar sights and smells, just like ours, but through a very Roman lens. Superstition played a huge role in daily life. Romans believed in omens, portents and the power of charms. A flight of birds, a dream, a sneeze at the wrong moment, all could be interpreted as signs from the gods. They carried amulets to ward off bad luck or the evil eye. Curse tablets, thin sheets of lead inscribed with curses against rivals in love or business, were thrown into sacred springs or buried in graves. It shows a world where the supernatural felt very close, influencing everyday decisions and anxieties. And what about family life? The paterfamilias, the male head of the household, had immense authority over his wife, children and slaves. Yet Roman women, especially from wealthier families, could be educated, own property, and exert considerable influence within the home. Children played with toys much like those today, dolls, balls and miniature carts. Education was valued, at least for boys from well-off families. Exploring these details of daily life helps us connect with the Romans as real people, with their own unique ways of navigating the world, full of fascinating and sometimes peculiar customs. So after all this time, after centuries of study and excavation, does Rome still hold its secrets tight? Absolutely. The Roman Empire was so vast, so complex, and its history spanned over 1,000 years. It's like an enormous ancient library with countless missing volumes. Every new discovery, whether it's a lost text, an unlooted tomb, or a new understanding of an old inscription, only seems to open up more questions. The Romans were masters of building, conquering and writing, but they also left behind a legacy of profound mystery. Think about the lost legions. Whole Roman legions sometimes vanished from historical records. What happened to Varus's 3 legions, famously wiped out in the Teutoburg forest? While we know the battle site, the exact fate of every soldier and standard remains a haunting question. Are there other, less famous legions whose stories are completely lost to us? Imagine the tales these lost soldiers could tell if we could only hear them. Their disappearance leaves gaps in our understanding of military campaigns and the frontiers of the empire. Then there are the undeciphered texts and enigmatic symbols. We find inscriptions in languages or scripts we can't fully understand. There are symbols on mosaics or frescoes whose true meanings elude us. Were they part of secret codes, religious iconography known only to initiates, or simply artistic flourishes whose context is lost? Each one is a tantalizing puzzle. Cracking these codes could unlock new insights into Roman beliefs, their society, or even forgotten historical events. The potential for discovery is still immense. Ultimately, the greatest Roman mystery might be the Romans themselves. How did this small city-state rise to dominate so much of the known world? What was the true nature of their beliefs, their deepest motivations, their inner lives? We can piece together clues from their art, their buildings, their writings, but a full understanding, a true feeling of what it was like to be Roman, remains just beyond our grasp. And that perhaps is the most exciting part. Rome still invites us to wonder, to explore, and to imagine. What other secrets are still out there, waiting beneath the dust of centuries for us to find? The adventure continues.